Hi, welcome back. Today I wanted to share a little bit on conscious living and sharing some tips if that is something that you are interested in. And I guess the first point I want to talk about is being aware. And that's being aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your body, but also being aware of other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And coming from an internal space, for me, a great way of doing this is to journal. And by journaling, really highlights our thought patterns, highlights our emotions and our feelings, and it helps us to connect with them and helps us understand ourselves more and where we're coming from and why things come up for us. And I think the more in tune we are with ourselves, the more we are able to positively impact others, the planet, nature, energetically, and also with regards to being aware of our bodies. I spoke about this previously in my video that I think I did just before this one, and becoming aware of your body is also an amazing tool to have, because once we connect with our body, we're able to act in a more conscious way, because our bodies are always the first to react to any situation, and it is very minute. So the more we are in tune with that, the better we are able to identify these things. We're able to identify quickly if we're stressed or if we're upset about something, and if we're conscious about that and if we're paying attention, it can really prevent us from getting sick, and it can prevent us from hurting others as well. Another thing that I like to do, that I want to share, is to just be really open and curious with everything, with other people, with their opinions, with their life experiences, with life in general, with worldly affairs, what's happening around us globally. For me, I'm really open, and I don't think there is a lot that can shock me, to be honest. And for me, I believe that's a really cool place to be. If you're not shocked by anything, there's nothing that can really disturb you in any way. And that comes from just being really clear within and being really grounded and centered. But that also comes with being open and curious to know more, to know about other people, to know about their life stories, what makes people tick, why they react in certain ways, and just being open to other people's thought systems. I know 1,000,000% that my way of thinking may not be the right way. It's certainly not the only way, and everyone is entitled to their own way of thinking, their own thought patterns, their own beliefs, and their own experiences in the world. And the more we are curious and open to listening to these and honoring these, the more conscious we become, the more expansive we become. We're able to grow more, we're able to, give back more energetically. We can come from a more loving space when we truly listen to others and understand all viewpoints in any situation. And by not just thinking your way is the only way, or not wanting to listen to someone else's story, or not wanting to listen to someone else's viewpoint, that just comes from the ego, and the only thing it can do is keep you stuck and eventually make you sick. So it's just being open and curious with everyone, everything that's going on. Also researching, looking into where things come from. So for me, I always like to just research in some small way where my things are coming from that I'm consuming or what I'm buying. And it's not from a place of perfection. It's just, for me, coming from a place of genuinely wanting to know, and just making sure that I'm consuming things that are, I guess, good for me. There are always obviously going to be times where I'm not consuming things that are good for me, but having the overall awareness helps us to do this more, and it helps us to live more consciously in the future. And it's just having the awareness in general, because although I might have something, or we might have something that's not good for us, if we are aware of that, it's likely that we're not going to go overboard with it. You know, maybe one day we'll just feel like having a really bad chocolate cake, or I don't know. I don't like to say bad because everything has their good and bad points, but what I'm trying to say is, if we're doing it in a conscious way, we're never going to tip the scale into something, you know, doing something that really is not overall good for us for a long period of time. I hope that makes sense. So by consuming consciously, it will always lead to us living in a more balanced way. And the same with fashion, just being clear about where things are coming from. I think I touched on it previously, how I feel about luxury fashion and the main, you know, designer brands. For me, like personally, that's not luxury, and I believe they are the complete opposite to conscious, to being conscious. You know, with where the items come from, I think most of them lie. And there's definitely exploitation in the manufacture of the items, with staff, even, you know, in developed places, you know, staff are not treated well. These places are heavily based on exclusivity, which I personally don't agree with. And the whole point of consciousness, and I feel for me, the whole point of humanity is to be conscious together and to be mindful and loving with each other. And for me, there are so many elements to designer fashion and luxury brands that are not aligned in that space whatsoever. And I just generally like to be aware of my impact. I guess that comes on with my consumption of things. Whenever I buy something, I've always reasoned with myself why I want it. And I know that the majority of my items that I have, the majority of things that I own, I really, really love them and I use constantly. I don't think there's really anything that I have that I will just use once and forget about it, and then just repeat and keep buying things without being conscious of why I'm doing that. I mean, for me, I don't do it anyway. I'm always very aware of why I'm buying something. And for me personally, I will never just buy, well, I won't say never, but I will rarely buy something without really thinking about it. And for me, that just frees up so much mind space, to be honest. I think that's what it does mostly. If you're like over consuming unconsciously, I just feel like that in that circumstance, we're stuck in a mind loop of just repeating patterns, and there's usually a reason behind it, and it's usually from unaddressed situations, but that's another topic. But the point I'm making is that if we are conscious about our decisions and we're conscious about what we're buying and our impact on others, it really does free up our minds for other things. It frees up our minds for doing things we really love, frees up our minds for doing things we really enjoy, and for me, most importantly, I honestly believe it makes us more loving and it makes us more kind and compassionate to ourselves and others, because when there's no fear, no worry, when there's no anxiety, no, repeating thought patterns, repeating behaviours that impact us in a negative way, that only leaves space for light, in my opinion. It only leaves space for peace, happiness, love, and joy. And so for me, that's really why it's important to live consciously, because it allows us to have more of the great things that truly matter. And I think for humanity and for, future generations and maybe the existence of the human race, however long that lasts, I just really believe that expands us as a species as well, and I really believe it expands the energy and I guess the energy of the world and the planet and whatever else we've got going on out there. So I hope this subject wasn't too out there, and I hope you have found something useful from this. And again, that's something I'm really big on living consciously, and if I can help in any way, I do, this as well professionally. So if you want to get in touch, please do. My details are at the bottom of my page, and I shall see you again soon in another video. Take care. Bye.